Learn how to build an innovative water treatment solutions company that is also a leader in environmental sustainability. Winning with Jerry Hanna, CEO of Clearflow Group, on today's episode of the Executive Wins Podcast. Welcome to the Executive Wins Podcast, where senior leaders share their biggest wins so you can get inspired and grow your business. Here's your host, Gordon Shepherd. Welcome to the Executive Wins Podcast, where senior leaders share their biggest wins so that you can get inspired and grow your business. I'm your host, Gordon Shepherd. And to start the show, I want to share an important leadership lesson that I learned from Mike Mann, the CEO of Alberta Innovates, on episode 48. He laid out how he helped the University of Lethbridge to dramatically improve student enrollment and attract hundreds of millions of dollars in donations and infrastructure investments. One of the main ways that he did this was to socialize his key concept early on, as in, he talked to as many people as possible at all levels of his organization, in the community, and across the province about why the University of Lethbridge should be a destination university. Over a period of 3 years and hundreds of conversations and presentations later, the idea took hold and massively changed the future of that institution over the next 7 years. Socialize your big ideas. That is the way to get major projects with multiple stakeholders across the finish line. And that's just one leadership lesson of many that you'll get when you listen to the back catalog of shows on this podcast. I also want to remind you that the Executive Wins Podcast won the Best New Podcast Award in the Quill Podcasting Awards in its first year of production. And thanks to you, the Executive Wins Podcast has surpassed 36,000 views on YouTube and more than 19,000 minutes of watch time, along with having over 1,400 downloads on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen. Featuring mission-driven leaders sharing their biggest wins so that you can get inspired and grow your business. That's what you get on the Executive Wins Podcast. On today's episode, you'll learn how to build an innovative water treatment solutions company that is also a leader in environmental sustainability. Winning with Jerry Hanna, CEO of Clearflow Group. I also want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by our new workshop called How Leaders Can Tell Winning Stories to Get Profitable Results. This workshop helps leaders learn how to tell highly effective stories so they can inspire their teams and customers to get more profitable results. In this hands-on workshop, leaders will learn a proven 5-step storytelling system called the Anatomy of a Win so that they can articulate the strategy, work plan, people, operations, and results behind every winning story they want to tell. They'll also learn how to dynamically use their voice and be confident storytellers no matter where they are, at the office, networking events, in the boardroom, or on stage. So if you and your leadership team want to learn how to tell winning stories to get more profitable results, then get in touch with me directly at gord@executivewins.com or visit executivewins.com/Executive Wins Storytelling Workshop to learn more. And now on to today's show. We are lucky to be joined by Jerry Hanna, CEO of Clearflow Group, a water treatment solutions provider that distributes and implements proven products around the world. You can learn about their work at clearflowgroup.com. That's clearflowgroup.com. On this episode, you'll learn how Jerry Hanna and his team have built water treatment solutions that put science and environmental safety first, as they develop patented, innovative products that are utilized in mining, municipal, and consumer applications on multiple continents. You'll also hear how Jerry got started with a fish tank in his basement 20 years ago, and how nobody wanted to hear from him during the first 6 years, and then how the phone started ringing when companies that were dealing with large regulatory fines needed water treatment solutions, and how Jerry and his team had the answers. Since then, the business has grown and they've invented new products, filed many patents, all while Jerry and his team have maintained solid values and a legacy based vision to improve the environment around the world. This episode is must listen for any leader who wants to do it right, because you'll learn how to stick to your values, treat each other with respect, and have a big vision to save the planet. I also want to remind you that this interview follows a specific format that I created called The Anatomy of a Win to help you learn the strategy, work plan, people, operations, and results behind every business win that you hear on this show. I really do hope that you can use this approach to reach your next business milestone. And now here's Jerry Hanna with his executive win. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank
It's
you.
so good to have you here. I've seen you win awards in technology, in supporting the Indigenous community, and learned a little bit about your own heritage there as well, and also how honored you were at the Technology Alberta Aztec Awards to win, and how touching it was for you and meaningful. I've been an audience member that has seen that occur and the deep sort of feelings and commitments that you have in those areas. So we are just super lucky that I had a chance to reach out to you and bring you on the podcast here today, because you're such an experienced entrepreneur, scientist, doer of things. Grandpa is in there somewhere too, and all those wonderful things that you do in your life. We're lucky to have you here, but there's a lot of people really that haven't met you just yet. So if you had to introduce yourself, what would you say?
Oh, my name is Jerry Hanna. I've been in the water world game for off and on for about 47 years, and I've just developed technologies that have been world changing, I guess, environmental changing to the better, and just very, very proud of my team and what we've been able to accomplish, and where we're going next.
It's so fun to meet people with the 47 years and that modest couple of sentences. But you've actually, in fact, there are patents in play here. I know in the pre-interview, we talked about the significant impacts, the 47 years. I mean to jump in and learn a little bit about you, because I know in the pre-interview, we were talking a little bit about some of your own journey. You built and sold a company at a relatively young age. Maybe start me there and then tell me some of the next moments that occurred so we can get a good feel for your entrepreneurial muscles.
No, sure. So I've always had a business of some type on the side, or ever since I was a small, about 12 years old, had something to do, whether it be a paper route or whatever. But as I got older, of course, it developed more mature type businesses, and was very fortunate to develop a business and be able to retire at 40 for the first time, and had virtually nothing to do. All my friends were working, so I had to figure something else out to do. So we looked at other opportunities. I developed some software with another friend of mine, and I sold that because I didn't like the software game. And then I got back into the water game, which I grew up in with my family business my parents had, and started developing technology around that. We've got numerous patents. We're in 7 countries now and growing. And I'm really been able to enjoy a life that took me back to where I started working with my dad and my family and things like that. So it's been a real journey, to say the least. And, now the hard part is to figure out, how do you retire again when the time is right?
When the
Not when the
time is
time is
right, because this
wrong.
is one of those things where you have that ability. And it's funny, you say the water game, but I need a little bit of context for that. It's
Sure.
water treatment, water use. Just give me a few sentences
Yeah.
on what do you mean when you say the water game?
So what we've done is we've been able to develop a technology that is passive release, so you don't need a lot of big equipment, very, very expensive equipment to dose it. There's no mechanical opportunities for causing environmental impact. It's totally environmentally friendly. I worked very closely with the University of Alberta and National Research Council of Canada to do what we do and develop this technology and have them validate it. So to make sure that it was safe for the environment. And it's basically a product that we put into the water flow. And what ends up happening is it takes the solids out, the metals out, phosphorus out, It takes things like we're talking about metals like arsenic, selenium, all of these things that can cause harm. And also, we've been able to go far beyond that stage. That's our core technology. Everything that we've developed is built around that. But what we've now taken is the ability to diagnose and monitor residual chemicals that are in the water. We call them cationic polymers that are used in big sectors like mining, heavy industry, things like that, that they use to knock solids out. But they leave a very, very toxic nature to the water, and it ends up killing fish and aquatic organisms. We've figured out through the request of clients and the regulators how to neutralize that toxicity so it makes it safe for use. On top of that, how to analyze for it. We have the first of its kind in the world analyzer for residual cationic polymers that will be released this coming year, 2026, and Q1 of that. The research has just finished 2.5 years of field testing. It works amazing, and it's, I say, the first of its kind in the world. So we're looking for the global status of that. So we've really stayed ahead of technologies that are needed for development to make the environment safe for water recycle and repurposing.
Remarkable. And you can walk into, I've seen the flags up on your Clearflow group website. You're in multiple jurisdictions. You are in some of, the largest, wherever there's water and things in big applications, you're able to be there. I love what I would describe your enthusiasm of a teenager. I met you at one of the Aztec events and you were like, oh, you met me for 2 seconds. You're like, oh, come here. And you took me over to a couple of plastic cups of water and your
Yeah.
briefcase, and you pulled out, if I call it a piece of sponge, I'm sure this is your genius patented
Yeah.
technology, and you were showing me literally right there and then, and I saw you do that with multiple people at the event. It was, it wasn't just me. I had that chance to see that. And what's neat for me is when I meet folks like you who have this chemistry and, whatever, inventor backgrounds, but you're able to then boil it down to allow someone like me to go, wow, that makes sense. I can see it in a cup of water, but I can also then imagine it down in Brazil at a mining operation or wherever you are doing your work. I think that's quite remarkable. I just mean to step back into that pre-interview piece. You're 40, you sell the business, you build another business, you didn't like the software business, and there's a moment where somebody comes to you with a problem in around there that
Yeah.
leads to some work in your basement. I really need to get that story out. It's a good one.
Well, basically, I was, as I said, I'd sold a software company. I was looking for something to do. My wife was saying, "You can't go to the lake anymore. You can't go to the golf course any more than you're already doing. This is not working. You need to get out of my hair and do something that's, reality." So a friend of mine came to me and said, "Look, I have a problem. We've got a issue with residual chemistry getting into the water and solids getting into the water where there's fish and a fish breeding ground." It was from a wash plant that they had that was producing aggregates, and they just couldn't clean the water enough to make it safe. So he said, "Could you help me? I know your background in water and et cetera, et cetera." So I said, "Sure, let's do something." So I started with a fish tank in my basement and starting developing different chemistries, looking for other chemistries. And honestly, it wasn't my goal to make a product. It was my goal to sell somebody else's product. So I started bringing in products from all over the world. I was bringing some in from Asia. I was bringing some in from Europe, some from the US, and we were trying all these, and all of them worked to a point. But when we got down to the regulatory side, nobody could come up with the answers the regulators wanted, and they're saying, "Well, you can't give us these answers. We can't use your product." So I went back to National Research Council of Canada. I said, "Look, this is who I am. This is what I do. Would you support me in developing this technology that I think we need?" And they did. They gave us the support we wanted. We were able to leverage that. I went to the University of Alberta and made an alliance there, which I have now had for 19 years, and I lecture there all the time now as well. So I'm almost feel like part of the faculty. We're actually even having our company Christmas party there this weekend coming up. So it's a big deal. We were able to validate everything that we said that we could develop. We developed. We validated it at the university to make sure that it was all environmentally safe with massive fish testing. We even went to the point of going all the way to the fish hatchery in British Columbia, the federal government's fish hatchery, and they allowed us to work 6 months within their infrastructure where they were growing the fish from the small fry up to releasable fish, salmon, back into the ocean. And we cleaned all the water and all the salmon. It was a better environment for them than what they had previously. So we've really, the deal I made with the university was whatever they found, they got to release. So if it was bad, they got to say it was bad. If it was good, they got to say it was good. So the interesting part is when we did our scientific study, it literally states in the paper by accredited scientists that were third party, and they verified that our product was literally, it says, 1,000 times safer than the cationic products they were currently using. Now, think of that impact going worldwide. It made such a problem for the companies that were selling these other products. They literally phoned the university and started yelling at them. This was the president of the company, of this big chemical company that is worldwide. And the guys actually said, look, he, Mr. Hanna gave us his products. You gave us your products. We're just releasing the scientific data. His is safer. From there, the federal government asked me to go speak at the World Water Conference in Paris, France in 2015. I was the only one that was a chemistry company that was invited to speak. So it was, and at that meeting, when I did the presentation, one of the head scientists for this major chemical company that has caused all the grief for the university came down to the floor and said, I need to know what's in that. I'm a PhD chemist and I need to know what you just showed me because I've never seen anything like it before. And I said, well, no, you don't need to know what my formula is, but thank you so much for the accolade. So, and
Isn't that
that's where it went
remarkable?
from there.
Yeah, isn't that so great? So thankfully, the world and many fish or whatever people that use water are thankful that your wife got you off the golf course and into a fish tank in your basement. That's your wife. Just I hope she's got a percentage of the company because that's a
Oh,
pretty
gosh.
big gift. Also, we can hear the entrepreneur and sort of stakeholder manager in you. You're not just a problem solver chemist. You are able to rally people. You're able to convince, cajole. I mean, this is not sort of, this is, like you said, is 19 years in a sense of this stage of the work that you're doing. There's a lot of moments along there where you are the Jerry relationship builder. You are the pulling together the project manager. You're able to get things across the finish line. And then also there's a humility in there to say, well, I'm going to test the other ones. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So there's sort of a explorer discoverer in there as well. And how lucky that we can hear from someone who's put all of that together at a moment in time to arrive at these great solutions. Well, this is just fantastic. It's really good to get sort of the setup here. It's almost unfair, but I'm going to ask you this question. If you had to describe one of your biggest wins, and you can pick one and we can kind of step off there because I know there's so many. What would that win be and how would you describe it?
I think the biggest win was kind of a combination. Number one was to be able to develop a product that made a difference, right? That made a difference and a real difference. We save an environment. Number two was the ability to build a company around that and to have such like-minded people that are in my team. And then that's in both our locations. And then to find, because we've gone to a distribution model worldwide. So we have distributors in the UK that handle the EU and the UK. We have a distributor in Australia. We have a distributor in Brazil. We got one in Peru. And every one of these companies that we're working with have this like-mindedness, and we have a group across Canada, and we have some in the U.S. as well. So the whole thing is, how do you find like-minded people that aren't there for the profits first, but are there for the environment first, and then make a good living off of it from there? And the environment is a critical mass. I'm Indigenous. I'm Métis, and which is that award that I just won, as you said, was a real family win. As a matter of fact, as soon as I left that meeting the next morning, I sent a notification to all of my cousins and let them know that to me this was a family win, something that my grandmother had gone through that was not really nice at all in her environment, being an Indigenous person, literally having to move from their hometown to a different province to be born. And it was horrible things that went on. So it was a little bit vindicative. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe that's not the way to look at it. But to me, it was people are actually listening to technologies from all over now, and it's not just segregated to one little group within a science pocket, if you will. And they're looking at Indigenous and innovation, and we're looking at worldwide sharing of information. I was a keynote at Murdoch University 2 years ago in Australia, and I was supposed to be there again this year, but unfortunately, just couldn't make it this year into another one in Australia in Adelaide. So this is, we're crossing scientific information from border to border. The borders aren't there for science. And how do you globalize innovation? And how do you globalize communication? And to me, when it comes to that and the environment, and not to be ridiculous about it, it's okay. This is real science. So everything that we do is based on science. Whereas we're not a chemical. I don't like to be called a chemical sales company because that's not what we are. We're a solutions company, but when we're going against people that are out there just selling chemistries and don't have the background or the science, and I say, okay, guys, put us side by side. We've tested it side by side. Now ask them for exactly the same data as I'm going to give you. And almost nobody can give it because we did 20, it's our 20th year of business this year, 20th anniversary in 2025. And we're able to actually give our clients real scientific data, third party proven by universities within National Research Council of Canada. We are giving you all of the top line data. And if that's more than everybody else can give us, then that's a benefit for us and to the environment.
Incredible. How lucky that your win is to build a product that made a difference, a values based, and you mentioned that how much bigger that is than you. It's about the environment, the world. The borders are erased because it's your science and values, in a sense, that are moving the mission forward. You're not in a corporate sort of profit driven mode. You are really about what I'm going to say is legacy building to a certain degree. And I know I know this is the same sort of thing that you're passing along to your granddaughter that you mentioned, because I know you've
Yeah.
given her some incentive along the way. Do you mind just sharing what you did with her?
Oh, well, yeah, shoot. It's interesting because we have a granddaughter and a grandson. Our granddaughter's just turning 18. And when she was 10 years old, we sat her down and said, look, if you do really good at school, we will take you on a trip. Grandma and grandpa will take you wherever you want to go in the world. You pick. So she was always excited. She always wanted to go to a country or whatever. And it was an incentive for her. Well, at the end of the day, she graduated just recently. She got valedictorian and honors, and grandpa had to pay up. So we took her to France. She wanted to go to Paris. And so we just recently, in the last couple of months, spent a wonderful trip with her. And now our grandson, he's 8 right now. 10 years old. We'll be having a similar talk with him. But it was really, I wrote her a letter before we go. She had to read it at the airport. And it just basically stated that she made a promise, we made a promise, and look what happens if you keep your promise, if you work hard, and if you make a benefit. And it doesn't matter if you're female, male, Indigenous, it doesn't matter who you are. I mentor PhDs every year. I usually do about 2, 3 PhDs a year, act as mentors, and I'm still, some of them I've been mentoring for even into their careers. And a lot of them are from different countries. Who cares? Honestly, who cares that if you care enough about doing something good, it doesn't matter where you're from, what you do, it matters who you are. And to me, that's how I like to give back. It's my way to give back. I sit on the board at the university for various other advisories for engineering and do a lot of lecturing for chemistry and engineering. It's my way to go and have fun. I have more fun and I learn more from these people than I will ever give out. So I am extremely blessed.
Incredible. She made a promise, you made a promise, and you're able to demonstrate that with her. It sounds like you make a promise with the people that work with you and the customers that work with you. They make a
Absolutely.
promise and you're doing it too. There's a promise being made to the environment. I can hear that. It's bigger than you. There's a
Yeah.
promise being made to your grandmother who you are
Yeah.
honoring through this approach too. Isn't that just lucky that you're at that moment in time to pull all this together and again build a product that makes a difference? And I think that's the win that you just sort of described, but of course it's all these things coming together. How wonderful. I always like to jump into what I call the anatomy of a win to learn a little bit more about it. So if build a product that makes a difference, let's look at the strategy, the work plan, people, operations, and results behind the win. Well, if we look at strategy, vision, mission, values, sort of as a core of strategy, goals in a sense, you've been talking about them in spades. The values are about the environment. The mission is that kind of thing. Any sort of other ways that you like to describe the strategy behind? Any highlights that you want to
Well,
describe?
it's interesting because when we first introduced this back, I started the company in 2005. When we introduced this, I couldn't get anybody to even talk to me for 6 years. Industry did not want this. They were not being pressured by regulatory constraints as much as they maybe should have been or could have been at the time. Um, and really, not until there was a fine in, I think it was Sturgeon County in around 2011, and it was in the millions of dollars. And until that fine happened, industry really didn't wake up that much. They just kept on operating as they were. Well, now all of a sudden, it's some pretty big fines. There were some fines in the neighborhood of $60 million. There was another one in my neighborhood of $70 million within various industries that were utilizing these negative chemicals. And we were called in to help find a solution for them by those particular sites. And you know what? We've been with the client ever since. So to have somebody not talk to you for 6 years is very frustrating. But and then all of a sudden after 6 years is, oh my gosh, where have you been? I've been knocking on your door for years, you know? And so now we get the calls saying, hey, I have another site. Could you help this person out? In the mining industry, we do a lot of work in the mining industry for gold mines, coal mines, metals mines, all that. That's probably the 70-80% of our business, heavy construction. And now we're in the municipal application. So the city of Toronto is a client. They use all of our products for their stormwater. They've been testing it for the last 2 years. We've now done so well with it. So we do City of Toronto, the City of Los Angeles. We've got, I think, 3 more cities coming on board right away, helping their stormwater and taking phosphorus out so you don't have downstream algae, taking solids out so they don't have downstream negative effects on the aquatic environments, because these all release into water bodies, right? You're looking like the Thames River Project releases into, where the Great Lakes go in and things like that. So how can we help? And we're just now, after 20 years, starting to get recognized and recognized internationally. So it's not, strategy is patience, a large part of it. And sometimes you just want to grab a pillow and scream into it for a little while and then go, hello, my name's Jerry. But
Because you've got the solution, you're ready to do, but the world's not ready for it until whatever those
yeah,
pressure points are that make the world ready for it, and then you're there, Johnny, on the spot as well to make that occur. So interesting to hear that strategy is patience. That's actually a very good wisdom for any leader that's listening, because I hear that often on this podcast. I hear 10 years, 20-year overnight success stories. I hear that frequently if you're going to build something substantial. So that's a really good point. Anytime we have a strategy, we need a work plan. So there
yeah.
it is. I don't know when you got sort of your fish tank invention sort of done, but the timeline for getting it up and running and then deployment to get the win, was it 6 years, 7 years? Is that sort of the roughly if we
Well,
look at the
yeah, probably 6 years to get everything to the point where people would now recognize that there is an opportunity. We had a major mining site in Alberta say, look, we'll let you use our site for a test site. And we've been with them ever since. We support all of their requirements for their surface water treatment and water management, and they've been part of most of our research projects because they love to be able to say to the regulators, "Look, we're trying to make a difference as well." And we've brought other mines on that want to do that, so we work quite heavily with that. The pipelines that are being built now, and hopefully more are being built. Um, from the level of what we need to do. We've been there for those clients. We're working with the new ones that are upcoming and really helping them develop the technologies. I guess not develop the technology, but institute the technology to help them meet all their requirements, and especially as they're going through First Nations lands and other Métis properties and things like that. So it's how are we working with them? We've brought an Indigenous solution to a industrial problem,
Love it.
and it's just been such a great benefit. We're doing and we're going launching into a new category of research coming up right away. Hopefully, everything's going to be all approved by startup for this spring. But we are adding in a new technology that will solve tailings pond issues. So honestly, taking the tailings ponds and making a repurposable, recyclable product from the tailings. And that's something that's very new and innovative. It'll be the first of its kind really hitting the market. And so again, more world changing because there's tailings all over the world. And how
It
do we
sounds
see
like it sounds like you're not allowed to retire because you just keep inventing the next best level, and so I'm not sure if that's going to be a possibility. Given if we look at that timeline, there's invention, there's 6 years to market with the first one, and then you're like, well, then we built another one. It was a natural thing, and you are solution providers. So then somebody walks in with another problem, and you and your gang are ready to step up to the plate. There isn't that interesting as we look through the timeline, strategy, work plan. There's always people involved in a win.
Yeah.
How would you describe? Let's just start with you. There's something about '05 and you're like, got your fish tank, you're gonna start a new business and whatever gonna get going. How would you describe your attitude through these years? Has it all been easy sailing, up and down, or what would you describe? How would you say?
Totally not easy sailing, totally not inexpensive. I had to invest a massive amount of money to uh, develop it and get it because we're from scratch technology that we had to do. And at the end of the day, I didn't look at a payback right away, and I was able to, fortunately enough, to be able to hold back and say, look, I don't need anything out of that right away. Let's just develop the technology. And so that was been a big one. But going forward, the team of people that I've put together are brilliant. They're really, really, because I can't just be one brain. Like they say, when I went to the doctor and I have a brain issue, and they say, yeah, well, we found that on the right side there's nothing left, and on the left side there's nothing right. So it's one of those things that we have to deal with. It, um, but having multiple people, and we're very empowering in our company. Everybody gets a say. We have weekly meetings. This is what we're working on. Everybody has a comment on it, so that there's no ivory towers. By taking away those ivory towers, we're able to develop the very, very best of technology and move very quickly on getting it out there. And as a company, that's important. We stayed as a small company. We did really go into a big growth phase, and really realized that that's not the model that we wanted to do because there was too much fluctuation in what was happening. So we went with a keep a very tight model. B, instead of installers, we wanted to be manufacturers, developers, technical support. We do some installs, but we basically went out and found other groups that could operate as installations for us, as installers, as uh, and that we don't want to carry the iron, so we have a company that we deal with that does all of the dredging and the heavy equipment work. We have another company that does our fabrication for us. We have a company that, so we did outsource to give a lot more people employment, but also gives other businesses a chance to rise up and grow as well. So from our perspective, it's a network. So anybody calls us and they say, "Oh, well, we have an issue here. Do you provide this, or this?" And say, "Oh, absolutely. We'll come in as a whole team." And there you go. We have everything from road building to dredging to um, water treatment to the whole nine yards. And now we're building the iron on a JV venture with another company that we're building wastewater treatment plants now that I developed, and we're now looking at removal of other contaminants beyond just wastewater. We are developing the clarifiers, portable clarifiers. Everything's portable and can move around. But now we've got these other companies involved here so that we have a plethora of supply of resources to our clients.
I love it. There's a woman, a Métis woman who was on. Her name is Shawnee Gwynn, runs her own communications firm in Edmonton, and she talked about getting clarity in an ambulance when she collapsed from overworking as a leader who tried to pull everything to herself, and then learned and got back to her Indigenous roots, and got into when she came back after 3 months and having gone to every guru till she was almost knew them all or whatever, to come back stronger and move to what she would have called an Indigenous distributed leadership model, which allowed all the voices to be at the table. What I'm hearing very clearly in what you're saying, I'm not sure if we call it distributed leadership, but certainly if with that stakeholder map that you're involved with, like you said with your team, everybody gets a say. You've got this chance to build out values-driven subcontractors, dotted lines, whatever those things are. And then if we had the whiteboard out, we couldn't even have enough whiteboard space to hear where you're making an impact at the global leadership conference level. You would be impacting, I'm going to say, actors in the government levels at different levels in all the countries that you're in. And so there's those factors as well, right down to your grandkids that you're sort of bringing up along the way. So how lovely that all these people are involved with, sort of making this world a better place. So we've got strategy, work plan, people, operations. You've described quite a bit. You are wonderful inventors who do patentable things and make those things occur. You describe some of the science and the ways that you go about it. Any other kind of operational highlights outside of, again, this wonderful way you communicate with your team and the world that you want to point out for getting, building a product that makes a difference?
I guess really the big thing that we focus on is what's next. The what ifs and what's next. So I'll try to keep ahead of the industry. I try to understand what the political landscape is in each of these countries because that makes a difference on whether or not you can even sell something into that country, especially now in today's world of tariffs and things like that. So we have to be cognizant of what's going on around us. So what we've done is we actually just redid our organizational chart, and in that, I've put one whole section for science and engineering, and I'm in charge of that. We have one whole section that's set up for sales and reseller support. And we have two divisions within that process that have uh, the mandate to take care of new sales and things of our gel flocculant products and our other systems that are available. And then we've got another section that we've set up, which is new, that we developed actually through really somebody came to us and said, "How come you can't clean swimming pools?" So we said, "Sure we can." Never thought about it. So we developed a whole line just for swimming pools. So that's going to become a separate company right away. But we can reduce chlorine use by up to 86%. We can reduce acid use by up to 60%. And so it really takes away the harmful chemicals and takes all of the nasty metals and things like that and out of the water to treat and enjoy your swimming pool again and not have all that harsh chemicals on your system or ingesting it, which all the chemical today, and this is interesting because it goes across every value of water that is being treated today, is even swimming pools are using what we call copper-based products. And those are listed as a toxic product, but they grandfathered them in because there was nothing else. And we've now offered them to something else.
And so
So
nice to move from take those old ways and move it in. It sounds like operationally you've also been disciplined. There's shiny objects of like, oh, we could be in the dredging business, but we figured out we don't really want to be in so then we're going to get people there. We're going to build out our teams and grow reasonably as we kind of go along and stay in our lane of expertise in a sense, and then also then get those stakeholders that are related to us and build them out as you kind of go forward. Love it. So the operations are
how
getting
do
well.
you complement their industry? And that's what we've tried to do.
Love it. And so again, very disciplined, and you're in a position to be disciplined as well because your patience, in a sense, is paid off through those first 6 years. And you've got to hear where, what I'm gonna say somewhere in the back there, and we don't need to examine it, but there's cash flowing, there's things happening now that have paid off for those early years. Strategy, work plan, people, operations. Finally, there's results, quantitative results, qualitative results. You'll take my little brain, and I just don't know the science in your world, but you're going to say our product, there's a new product that you were describing in a pre-interview where you said this product, if I say microns or small measurements, it
Mhm.
was getting it to a certain standard and now it's getting it to be even better. This is where your science is pushing the limits into regulatory and maybe even setting regulatory standards to a certain degree where you're
Yeah.
actually able to, be way better than the expectations of many governments. Is that fair?
Yeah, actually, that's this last kit that we've just developed, this test kit that will analyze for residual cationic polymers in water. It's the first of its kind in the world, as I mentioned, but nobody's been able to uh, test for cationic polymer residuals below 10 milligrams per liter. Now, we are now, the government came to us, the regulators, and said, can you come up with something that will get lower than 10 milligrams per liter? So about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we developed a kit that you could just take a water sample, run a test kit, and it'll show you a visual in the jar. And that got down to about 3 milligrams per liter. So they said, that's great. That'll really help us a lot. Can you come up with two things? Number one, a way to neutralize that residual cationic toxic polymer. And then can you be able to get it down to a 1 milligram per liter test kit? So we can actually see the residual at 1 milligram per liter. So we went back to the drawing board, took a few years, and we were able to make a new test kit. And this new test kit, which is being launched this spring, will go down as low as 0.05 milligrams per liter, so a couple hundred times below what they asked for. It now puts it in a full range of safety. And then on top of that, we were able to develop a neutralizer so we can analyze for the residual, tell you how much is in it, and then neutralize it upstream. So now you have totally safe water being released to the environment. First of its kind ever. So that's what's being
Congratulations.
released this spring. Yeah, it's a big deal, and it's a world changer, right? And again, it's an industry changer. So when the regulators come to you and say, "Look, we got enough faith in the, we think you could do this. Could you help us?" That was probably the biggest stamp we could ever get in support, even though they're not allowed to, and justifiably so. They can't say, "Oh, we are promoting your product." They're not at all. They say, we can't promote your product, but if you could come up with something, then we at least know it's out there. And then, it's something that's not lost, because that's the problem that industry's having, and nobody seems to have a solution. So that's what we found was a new solution.
And so again, when we talk about quantitative results, you've just demonstrated that. You said, okay, there was another problem that walked in the door. So whether you're with a fish tank, and it's so fun that you modestly say, yeah, it would take a couple of years. There's a bunch of work that got, when you say it took a couple of years, that means there was a lot of science involved, a lot of starts and stops and all of whatever that takes. But because you are solution seekers with your group, a problem walks in the door, and it sounds like there's maybe not a water problem that you can't tackle, which is remarkable because you're getting these things. And then every time it's advancing, every time it's correlating to the values that you're trying to drive forward in the world. Thank you so much for that quantitative one. The other one is quantitatively, I've heard, is you're creating employment for your team, employment for these folks that are dotted line again, that are carrying out some of the work parts. There's lots of people that are being influenced at conferences, for example, in audiences quantitatively. Any other quantitative highlights that you'd like to point out?
I think that's, for the most part, it's how are we doing our business model? How are we getting the message out? And the message is now, so we're talking about quantitative values. I've got my team now working on saying, look, we need to show a visual and make it simple, because we're so sciencey and, engineering driven. How do we make it simple for somebody to just read? So it's okay. Here's how many, if you did liquid volume, which is what they do now, how many liquid totes at 1,000 liters per tote that it would take to equivalent of one box of what we generate. So if you think about the Tide Pods versus the amount of powdered soap that you would do, right? It's kind of that same process, but we reduce shipping costs. We reduce chemical usage. We have manpower reductions. They don't need the equipment anymore to do the dosing. So all of these intrinsic values come to the client. And on top of that, our product is environmentally safe and is proven scientifically. It's in scientific journals with all of the backup. Everything we do is backed by science. And we're one of the very few companies that do that. So we didn't develop a product to just go and do something. We developed the product and proved it first and then brought it to industry. So that was our process, was everything's about the science and the environmental safety first, and then we'll go make the sale. And that's our biggest difference probably between us and our competitors, is that's been done.
Remarkable. So again, we got to hear the win. We built a product that made a difference for all those big reasons that you talked about. We talked through the strategy, the work plan, the people, the operations. We got down to some of the quantitative results. Qualitatively, how does it feel to be at this moment with this type of win?
It's a little bit surreal at times. I mean, when I get these awards, I have won multiple awards. Our company's won multiple awards. Clean tech international competitions, uh, and you know what? Somehow we haven't got the message out there enough. We're just starting to take off, and that's probably because we're a little sciencey and we want to keep things here, and we say it this way. Maybe we need to say it in a way that people just get more out. So, we have a number of clients. All of them have been with us for a long period of time. We help them find solutions even when they come up with new problems. So, how does it feel? It feels that we're doing something really good. I appreciate that. We are looking at, how are we legacy planning? How are we bringing in new scientists and stuff to the fold? I'm hiring 2 more this year. I just hired 2 last year. Plus, we support these students through the Indigenous ISTEAM Pathways program, and supporting Indigenous students as well. So, how do we support everything? How do we become this big piece? And when I get these calls and people are going, "Oh, you've done so good, you've done so good," and I'm going, "No, I've just done." You know? I've just done. To me, this is my day to day, and I don't mean to be rude. I appreciate everything that we get, and I appreciate all that we've won, but I don't think I look at it that way. Maybe it's too humble, or I don't. I'm not trying to be humble. I'm just saying it just has to be done. So let's just do it.
It has
Maybe
to be done. So let's just do it. I mean, that's and again, how lucky that that is your approach because of look at what you've done. It's remarkable, and it's funny that you said you hear the people from the outside, but that feeling is kind of this is just what we do. This has been a fantastic interview. I'd always like to say there's leaders that are listening to this story. There's people from Aztec around the world that are going to hear this interview, and if you had a couple sentences to say to that next leader, is there sort of any leave behinds that you like to sort of make, a couple sentences you like to leave behind for somebody to think it to be encouraging to them?
well, for somebody that's new into the world of entrepreneurship, etc. And I lecture on this. I teach this in a workshop. But the first thing that I always mention is don't ever lose you. Because the biggest thing that you can lose because of excitement or because of, the only way I'm going to get this money is to do this. Don't lose you. Don't lose you. Keep you in there all the time. Keep that passion. Keep the way why you started it and got into it for. The Newt Rockney story. Get out there and do it, guys. That's the kind of thing. Sorry, probably nobody knows who Newt Rockney is, but I'm going back too many years. But anyway, the bottom line is that don't lose you, I think, is a big thing. For the leaders that are there existing, are you current? And are you having to deal with all the current struggles that we all are? And how are you managing that? And find a point in time or a place that you can just take a deep breath, calm down with what everything that's going on or trying to overwhelm you, and then come back at it and look at it. Have somebody you can talk to. Have a mentor, and you scale your mentors as you scale through time. I try to mentor, as I say, a couple of people a year, and it keeps me young by mentoring the younger groups, but also keeps me current. So I guess that would be the message I would give. And then to anybody out there that needs help with water, call us. We're here to help.
Well, I just can't say thank you enough for so many different stories, for putting together this body of work that's making a huge difference, for building a product that makes a difference, for your approach. It's just been so great to have you. I thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thank you, Gordon. I really appreciate this, and thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate all of this.
Lead with real science and put environmental safety first. Build innovative products and sell them around the world, and stick to your values. That is how Jerry Hanna and his team win every day. Thanks, Jerry, for your inspiring win. Now, if you enjoyed listening to this episode, then make sure to check out our upcoming episodes, which include how a resilient leader built a successful tech company and a nonprofit venture to empower youth. Winning with Musab Abdel, CEO of QA Enterprises and founder of Struggle is Your Success. And if you're a leader who really wants to learn how the Executive Wins coaching session can help you to grow your confidence and inspire your team, then visit executivewins.com to learn how. You can also subscribe to the Executive Wins newsletter to stay up to date on the podcast, live events, education opportunities, and more. Visit executivewins.com/newsletter to sign up. And if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and share it with a fellow leader. And don't forget to check out our resources and links in the show notes. And keep listening to the Executive Wins podcast for more inspiring wins that will help you to grow yourself, your team, and your entire business. Thanks for listening to the Executive Wins podcast. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe as we bring you more inspiring wins from outstanding leaders so you can grow your business.